So A2C podcast is all about talking to significant people who are doing significant things, getting to know the person behind it, right? So, like, what you do for a living, it's cool, but what made you want to do it? Like, who hurt you when you were a child to want to do what you do for a living? Like, that's the stuff. So we'll talk some professional stuff. We're gonna get into some personal stuff and whatever else too. It's just having interesting conversations. The reason we have a long recording block, we don't have to use it all, but it's so that there's no time constraint, right?
Yeah,
block
I don't have 3 hours of shit to tell you.
Well, maybe you do. I've been told that before. Yeah, that's the point. It's not like you don't need to come here and prove any points professionally. I'm not asking you to prove or disprove anything. I want, like, you're one of the coolest people I've met. You're so fucking knowledgeable about what you do. You're an absolute expert. Don't downplay it. And
you know more than me on some stuff, but for sure.
you know more than me on some stuff. Like, I know how to cop at the top, and I can go left-handed too, but like you've got some real freaking wisdom. So what I want to do, the whole purpose of this is taking anybody that'll listen to me, and it's like 4 people, but anyone that'll listen to me and introducing them to significant people doing significant things. And that's not always for the best. Like, I've had people on this podcast that I vehemently disagree with. I've told them that on this podcast.
Dude, you had my buddy Jonathan on there. Come on, man.
Yeah, I've had John. I actually like John.
I'd like to punch that guy in the fucking face, and that Love guy, and everybody in Primerica, actually.
Dude, that's just the Chicagoan. You getting way too heated over shit.
They're fucking
You're in Florida now, dude. You're in Florida. You need to just, sit on some Spanish moss, relax, take a chill pill.
It's cold here now, dude. It's supposed to get like in the 20s and 30s with wind chill here. That's insane. It's cold.
Pretty cold. When I was there back in like 08,
I can't believe I lived in Chicago for 50 years, dude. I can't believe it. I can never go back. Never. I would die. Like, it's cold.
When I was in Florida, I think the coldest it got in 08, 09 that I experienced was like 35, 40. And I was surprised it got that cold, actually. The United States has some, like, nationwide, there are just some huge freaking temperature swings here that people from like the UK, they don't understand. Their winter summer temperature swing is like 30 degrees. Our temperature swing, regardless of where you're at, it's like 100 to 120 degrees. It's crazy. The U.S. is a crazy place, man.
See what happens this year. There's going to be some crazy shit going on, man. Trying to freaking ruin the country before Trump gets in here. I don't know.
Is there going to be a revolt if Canada becomes the 51st state before Puerto Rico?
I don't really understand what's going on there, but Trudeau's gone, so that's good. But they always replace it with someone worse, right? It's like, I'm from Chicago, obviously. You never think anybody could be worse than Lori Lightfoot. Fucking Brandon Johnson is the worst mayor fucking ever in the history of the world. It's unbelievable.
Like, yeah, it's always the next dictator. And there's so many people that like Pierre. Pierre's probably got it, let's be honest. But Pierre Polyev.
That's the new guy in Canada, or probably.
Yeah, and he's Conservative Party. I can't remember what they call him, but he's Conservative Party. But it's always the next dictator. Politics is it's such bullshit. It's the biggest facade. It's the biggest lie.
It's infuriating, dude. And how much money we're giving away, like, to every fucking bullshit thing. It's crazy, dude. It's fucking infuriating.
I know, dude. Have you ever read through one of their budget reports? I did that. It's been a few years since I have, but it was like, hey, we're going to give $80 million to the University of butt fucking Egypt to study, even though Surge Energy Drink was discontinued in 1999, we want to know if Surge makes mice gay. And so we're going to give $80 million to some university to study that. And dude, it's crazy what we spend money on. And then we're like, oh, we're in debt. Are you kidding me?
They just had some report from Chicago, obviously, like Brandon Johnson, the mayor there, spent it was like 60 or 70 grand on like haircuts and shit like that for the year. It's like, what the fuck, dude? These people should be in fucking jail, dude. Like 1,000 of them.
I'm just going to go ahead and say their barber should be in jail. Haircuts? Are you shitting me? I spend a bunch, but I'm like, with a tip, depending on how kind I feel, 150 to 200 a month. But that's a haircut, a hot shave every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Haircut, hot shave, the whole 9 yards. I do a little treatment, and I'm like 150 to 200 a month. 70 grand a year is bullshit. You're not going to look better than me. Stop it.
That's impossible.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. Well, I had a question for you. So I was trying to do like, where can I get a comparison like backdoor rock versus like IUL or something? Like all the details on a backdoor rock besides just like
Bro,
Googling it or whatever.
are you plugged into Retirement Analyzer at all?
Yeah, I have it for a long time. Not that I fucking know, I know how to use 25% of the fucking thing and I've had it for years, but yeah.
I'm telling you, reach out to Steve Goldstein and Brooke.
Dude, he's a genius. He's smarter than me, you, and every freaking person in this in their whatever group you're in, like times 5.
I don't disagree. What I'm telling you is I would be shocked if Retirement Analyzer doesn't have what you want already. So like it is freaking incredible. Absolutely incredible. So
If I had Steve on every call with me, I'd be a multimillionaire right now.
well, so RA, they literally do a daily call.
Yep.
Like every single day.
I've had it for a few years now. Yeah, I get on the Friday calls religiously, the sector sessions, whatever. Yeah, you can call in it. Like I did it before. I haven't done it in a while. Like they go through cases with you, whatever. That's one of the main things I need to get better. I keep saying every year, oh, I'm going to learn Retirement Analyzer better. Shit. I don't know how to do the like the cash flow things. You know what I mean? I don't really know how to do that. I don't even think you need to get into it with most people. You know?
It would probably take you less than 3 to 5 hours of time spent with them to be a master at it. And like you've had it for 2 years, and in 3 to 5 hours, you could master it. I would recommend getting on some of those daily calls.
I get on a lot of them. Like I don't know. I know how to do a lot of this, not a lot of the stuff. Some
You're on them. Are you the one asking the question? Because it's a mere reflection,
No.
like everything else we talk about.
probably not paying attention on there, yeah, and going through the trainings and all that shit that are on there.
You're looking for the next fancy restaurant where somebody's going to serve you tilapia with mango on it so you can put it on Facebook, you asshole.
I gotta put something on there, dude. Just try to put whatever I can, fucking every day. Or
Dude, I see those posts and I'm always like, God, as a fat man, I want it. But also, a Burger King Whopper sounds good.
yeah, I need to step it up this year, dude, big time, like on multiple fronts, man. No fucking around. 5 million in annuities, 200,000 in life insurance premiums. It's got to happen, no matter what.
So what are you going to do to guarantee that it happens?
Good question. You're gonna ask that.
Not like, what are you going to do to try and make it happen? What are you going to do to guarantee? I just did a whole training for the new Rev 2.0 that I'm putting out. Did a whole training on guaranteeing your effective outcome versus doing what you would prefer to have take you there. Like, so it's on my mind. What are you going to do to guarantee it?
That's a great question. I don't think I have an answer for you right now, which I need to get. Yeah, I don't know. I need to partner more with referral partners. Because every time that one guy was on there, I've tried it before. I mean, I'm part of 2 master agencies on the PNC side, and we don't really have anybody referring us shit. Went to the meeting down here last year and talked to a couple people, buddy of mine. They kind of disappeared, right? So like nothing ever came of it. And I know no one knows what we know, dude, on the PNC side. Nobody knows what me and you know on the retirement life insurance side. They're all doing, you know what they do, like do a couple term policies here and there, and they say they know life insurance.
Right. So ask yourself, why aren't they? What's the common denominator?
I don't know, everybody's busy, or I guess I don't know.
Common denominator is you. You're the common denominator in every equation.
Sure.
But if you were talking to a group of 100 business owners about something that was guaranteed to make them money with no risk, and it was guaranteed to improve their business, and it was guaranteed to do this and guaranteed to do that, and everything was benefit, why wouldn't they do it? It's 2 answers. Ego, in which case you can't help those people. Like they can sit on their thumb and spin. And in the second case, it's because they don't understand the mechanics and the monetization. It's not actually making sense. It's like Van Miller talks about, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of both those things. Absolutely. People think they know, like, oh, I know life insurance. Oh, no, you don't.
Yeah, they think they know until they're like, hey, we sold 10 policies this year and made $4,000, and then you sell one policy and their revenue share back at 30% is $20,000. And they're like, oh God, I got to get Charlie more business. But how do you communicate that? Because like Van Miller says, it's not about the teaching. It's not about your presentation and giving it to them. It's about what are they internalizing, right? It's about the learning. So the common denominator, it always has to be me. Put in a different way, it's extreme ownership. Jocko Willink, right? So I think you can build some. In fact, so the guys, you've heard of Kraken at this point. I helped Nate and Brad launch that whole thing, and now Peter and Bobby are a part of it. And
Sure.
their whole thing at this point is is this once your client, always your client, cross-sell somebody else's book. Like that's on the life annuity side, that's their gig, and they've gotten dialed into it. And dude, they've had like 50 million in P&C book opt in. And then they just had, I think it's the third largest aggregator, P&C aggregator in the United States, just say, hey, we heard you guys were doing this stuff. Tell us about it. And they just signed contracts the other day. So the third largest aggregator in the United States for property casualty, like there's a 1 in 5 chance, a 20% chance. If you're an independent in P&C, your aggregator is now talking to these guys about cross-selling your book, which is
Crazy. That's awesome. Shit.
right. But it all comes down to that communication, because it's not about what you know. It's about what can somebody actually receive of what you know. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So, and
yeah, and I haven't talked
selling agents
either, but yeah, the message obviously isn't getting
well. And when you're selling agencies, they don't care about IUL or whole life or this or that. They don't give a shit. They're not buying a product. What they care about is, am I going to make money? Am I going to lose clients? Am I going to get sued?
Yep.
So if the agency is your client, you've got to build a product that addresses those things, so that now you can get access to this market share and go serve, your typical financial services product that you already do. But it's a different product. They don't care how you sell IUL. They don't give a shit. They just want to know that they're not going to lose clients, they're going to make money, and they don't get sued. That's it.
No, but very true. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the main things I want to ramp up, is at least get a couple agencies, which should be doable. I don't know.
Dude, call Tyler and have a 1-to-1 with him. He's a badass, and he'll give that time to anybody. Just call him and pick his brain and be like, what would you do? And he was talking like, man, I had to go to 10 agencies before I got my first one. Then I had to go to 10 more to get my second one. But once my first and my second one started getting checks for me, like, 3, 5, 10 grand a month for this.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I haven't talked to 20 agencies. I mean, you're exactly right on that. But like, oh, that guy will do it, that'll be my ticket, and it doesn't happen. Then you're like, okay, stupid.
Dude, that's exactly it. Well, dude, let's switch gears here, because I want to keep people interested. I want to keep people entertained. And this podcast is not just for insurance professionals and financial professionals. It's for everybody. This is significant people doing significant things. So I've got a question for you. Why are you so mad? That's my first question. You are so goddamn fired up over this TikTok stuff. I want to start there, and then we'll get into I'm going to ask you about your childhood and when you fell down the well, like Bruce Wayne, but right now we're going to start with what's got you so damn fired up on this TikTok stuff that you've been pouring into.
I didn't realize I was that angry, but yeah, just a lot of misinformation.
No, you're not angry, dude. You are fired up.
Oh, definitely. There's a ton of misinformation out there. So it kind of upsets me, and it's our business. So, all these Primerica people and even some of the CFPs spreading misinformation on annuities, life insurance, right? It's crazy. So I was trying to get the word out there, and I'm not the best at the video game yet. So that's a little frustrating as well. I would just say just passionate about, been doing this well now, just the misinformation out there, trying to cut off the misinformation that's, confusing people, and just crazy the amount of misinformation and outright lies out there too, right? And lack of information, misinformation, lack of knowledge, but even outright lies on everything, right? As you probably know.
So what's you said misinformation like 10 times in 60 seconds. What misinformation? Because you and I know, but what about everybody else that ever watches this?
I would say all the information that you hear out there that, annuities are a scam, cash value life insurance is a scam. They really don't know how it works, that you and me know, right? But they really don't know. And they're only selling term policies. So every single video is about, cash value life insurance is a scam. It's just crazy. I've never seen a company that would, you don't see Ford out there, saying Chevy sucks on every video, right? It's kind of crazy.
I think you did have you ever watched some of the 80s Chevy, Ford, Dodge commercials?
Not that I can recall. I'm sure I've probably seen them.
They went hard in the paint, man. like commercials of a Ford with a Chevy sideways over the back of its pickup bed, crawling up some mountain or something like that. Like they went hard, but no, I digress. I do agree. There's one of my mentors told me that if you look at where someone is bonused, that's where their intention lies. And I think that's a lot of their argument, right? Like Jonathan and some of these other guys, it's like, oh, you're only life licensed and you're appointed with this company that sells cash value life insurance and annuities. So that's where your intention lies. But also on the flip side of that coin, they don't sell anything but term life insurance and assets under management. A lot of it A shares with some upfront fees, which if you're going to
It's
hold
not even
share for
it's
30
not even a yeah. It's all upfront mutual funds. They're still doing the old school A shares, right?
yeah, which like if you're going to buy it and hold it for 30 years, it makes a lot of sense. But how many people buy and hold a single investment for 30 years these days?
Not a lot.
Not many, not many. So, nah, man, I'm going to be honest. I think your videos are better than mine. Yours, dude, yours are packed with, I've been paying more and more attention. I don't know if you've noticed me like liking and commenting on some of your
So I
stuff.
appreciate that. I appreciate that because I'm not getting the views are that I want, right?
I don't know why, because your stuff, like, it's mostly backed with, like, hey, here's an article from BlackRock. Here's an article from Forbes. Here's an article from Goldman Sachs or whatever. And it's like, damn, you know?
That's what I've been trying to do lately. I don't know. I don't know. I think some of the videos I've been doing lately are too long. Every time I try to do it, it's like 3 or 4 minutes long. I'm like, oh, shoot, the last like 4 or 5 have been that long. So I don't know if that's good or bad these days, but I don't know. I'm trying to, there's a lot of people that are much better than me at the videos. I'd like to get as good as, but I don't know. We'll see on that, but it's frustrating. It takes me way too long to do the videos too. Way too long. As you were mentioning before, I know you mentioned a couple of times, I take like 15, 20 minutes a day. It's taking me way longer than that, which it shouldn't, but it is.
Well,
So I've got to come up with some kind of solution on that because it's too time consuming and frustrating at this point.
yeah. The easy solution is a VA. Don't have your VA post for you, but have your VA do like put the video together. And you can get a decent VA. You don't even have to have a full-time VA. You can get a fractional for $200, $300, $400 a month. If you want a full-time, $1,500 a month.
The videos aren't going anywhere. You've seen other people out there with big followings. They're getting a ton of leads, right? I want to get to that point eventually because
I think going live gives more traction than on TikTok, at least. I think going live has
I
more
absolutely need to do that. I was just kind of afraid to do it because I haven't done it before. So, but I absolutely need to do that. So I have to get some pointers for you on that. I know it's not hard, but
yeah, just start doing it. And when I started doing it, it was like, well, shit, I don't know how this is going to go. So I'll go live while I'm doing other things, while I'm doing my case design, while I'm updating my CRM and putting in notes on everything. And that's how it started. And then it just grabbed traction. So, and I think the live traction transfers to the post traction.
no, I think you're right on that. I absolutely need to do it. Like that stuff really on the list. It has to be done.
Yeah. On my list is get better at the post. I don't know if you noticed, but especially like on TikTok, I don't do shit for posting. Like I post once or twice a month. I go live every now and then. And most recently, I just jump on other people's lives. I'll just jump on theirs. And dude, it cracks me up. Some of these lives I get on, holy shit.
Well, now I think I'm in the Primerica algorithm, whatever. So all the time, and like, it's ridiculous. And they're on there 24/7, as you know.
Oh, dude, on 24/7. I was talking to a dude I met actually through TikTok. Really cool dude. Awesome fiduciary. He's out of the Phoenix area. And him and I were messaging back and forth the other day. He's like, why don't you get on more? And I was like, because I'm fucking busy. I'm busy making money and like, I don't have time to be here. And if you don't have anything else to do, absolutely be here, you know?
Yeah, I was trying to do a video a day for a while, and I was for like a year. I almost did that. Just made myself do it. Lately, I've been slacking off on that because I haven't been getting leads in it, and I've been busy doing other things. It's like you've got to do these presentations, you've got to reach out via email, you got to call more. It's like the return, the ROI on the videos really hasn't been there in the last 6 months or so at least.
Well, don't spend time on it. You would make more by spending $400 a month having a VA out of the Philippines do your videos for you, and you spend 2 minutes posting the video they create, as opposed to spending 2 hours a day doing it. Like, break your time down. You're probably still worth hundreds per hour, right? So every hour you spend doing that shit, it's like shit in one day, editing one video that paid for the whole month worth of that VA.
Yeah, that's one of the top of my list is coming up with a solution for the videos. Cause yeah, like I mentioned a couple of times already, spending too much time on it for very little return. The efficiency is just absolutely not there.
Yeah. Dude, so what, out of all this stuff, as you've gotten involved in it, what's the best thing you've gotten from it? Not necessarily from your business, but maybe personal or professional development. Like, what have you had any realizations as you've been involved in that ecosystem?
I think the best thing that I ever did, I started out at Morgan Stanley for a couple of years, and I was in the bank channel for many years. Did okay in the bank channel, but as you realize, working for someone else, the bank doesn't care about you whatsoever. I was top advisor in a mid-major bank in Chicago, but they realize at the end they really don't care about you. So the best thing I ever did was went independent for sure. It's tough in the beginning, as you probably know, as you well know, and then in the long run, it's definitely worth it for multiple reasons. That's probably the best thing. And I'm constantly learning, trying to get better at everything, joining groups like yours, et cetera, helps a lot. I'm just trying to get all the processes down, right? That's what I think the problem is wasting time. I think waste too much time and getting the systems and processes down as far as getting in front of people and everything else that goes along with it, right? The technology, maybe getting referrals from other agencies, et cetera. Just the process needs to be a lot better as opposed to, I was used to in the bank channel, boom, calling on the CD list, just doing the work that other people weren't doing. And I did well because of that. And now when we get out of there, right? I mean, it's been a few years now. It's just not the same. You got to go different avenues to get the business, right? It makes that 1% easier because you work at the bank.
Dude, every time somebody says, I worked at the bank and they don't care about you, I think of Mary Poppins. When they sing that song, you've seen Mary Poppins. Come on.
I mean, it's been many, many years, but yeah.
But there's this scene in Mary Poppins where like this little kid Michael has a toppin. He's got a pence, and they're trying to convince him to put it in the bank. And they're like, when you put your pence in the bank, 30 years later, it'll be worth 2. And dude, it's like the funniest shit. Every time somebody talks about the bank not giving a shit about you, Mary Poppins is what comes to my mind. You need to rewatch that.
Yeah, I just think I'm passionate about just financial education in general. I mean, school's a joke. I got my MBA in finance. I wish I never would have done it. It was a waste of time, waste of money, basically, right? College in general. I mean, nobody knows anything about their 401k. It's, they don't even know how they're taxed, let alone insurance, taxes, anything in retirement, really. So there's just so much confusion out there. It's just makes our job a lot tougher, right?
Yeah, it does. Dude, so what got you into this business before Morgan Stanley and all the shit back in the day, before all this? Like when you were 10 years old, you didn't pull up on your freaking tricycle, skid the back wheels a little bit, and you're like, I'm going to be in finance. That wasn't the shit that you said. You would have been laughed at. You'd have been called gay. Like, what made you decide to get into this business and actually do something with it, right? What did you want to be when you grew up,
I mean, I was always an entrepreneur. When I was really young, I had my own bait business. I grew up 50 miles outside of Chicago, kind of in the country there. So I had a bait business when I was really young, and I had a lawn maintenance business junior, senior year of high school and all through college and a couple years out of college. Did pretty well there, made a lot of cash. But looking back, I see one of the major mistakes is I had zero financial education there. Did my parents know anything? No. All the cash that I made, I could have easily probably saved $1,000 a month at 20 years old. Did I do that? Spend it all going out, right? So looking back, I mean, I realized the importance of starting early, right? And the financial education, which I didn't have. Found out many years later, my dad canceled our life insurance policies on me and my brother. And my brother passed away when I was 17. I mean, when I was 18, he was 17 in a car accident. And we didn't have any life insurance on him, right? Because my dad canceled it. Found that out years later. So things like that, and then my dad, he paid about $200,000 for long-term care maybe 10 years ago in Chicago because he didn't have any insurance. He was uninsurable for the last 25 years. That's why, right? And they didn't have like some of the annuities that we have now with the long-term care riders on there, et cetera. So a couple of things like that, right? Realized the importance of financial education, canceling the life insurance, crazy, no long-term care insurance, paying for it out of pocket isn't going to work, right? Seeing people blow through their whole assets like that. So a couple things like that. And then I started in the business in 99 when the market was going crazy, right? Just thought I could make some money and it sounded exciting. So that's when I started in the business. Where I remember Morgan Stanley sitting there, everybody's throwing darts at the wall. I think we're going to be millionaires overnight, picking stocks, right? And then what happened? Learned very early the importance of protection, right? 3 years in a row, market turned down. You're sitting in these meeting rooms with all the analysts that think they're geniuses, right? And everyone thinks they're so smart. Nobody knows what the market's going to do. So learn pretty quickly the importance of, protecting your money and, annuity strategies, et cetera. You're familiar with margin, how that works. I almost went on margin with my account, my dad's account. My dad would have killed me. I would have done that. Luckily I didn't. So learn the importance right away. And I think a lot of these guys out there right now that you see me clapping back at, they have no clue about downside protection. They've never seen a down market. Or it's like, oh, throw your in the money in the market, right? You don't need life insurance. You don't need annuities. So I've seen it firsthand. I think that shapes kind of how I do my planning, which I'm sure you agree with.
Yeah, dude, I know, like, I get along with some of these people better than you do. Maybe I'm more forgiving. I think I might be more Christ-like, Charlie. I don't know. But no, I'm teasing. I had my brother-in-law worked for that same company back in the day, like prior to 2008, and did very, very well. Like very, very well. Made every trip. His RVP was going on every trip and getting every bonus because of him and all these things. And dude, it's so funny. They're like, how can you be a fiduciary when you blah, blah, blah? And then it's like, in 2008, they were like, hey, let me refinance your 30-year fixed mortgage into an ARM. And let's take the arbitrage you get for the next 3 years before your rate adjusts and throw that into mutual funds. And like, do you remember when they were doing that shit? None of them talk about that shit. But anyways, like I saw the other side of it. They tried to recruit me clear back then. I was like, are you kidding me? Insurance people don't get laid. I was like 18, 20 years old and I'm like, shit. And then I'd realize like, holy shit, insurance people get laid. But no, I watched. So everybody was, you remember 04, 03, 04, 05, it was upside, upside, upside. This thing, it's never going to come down. Every single one of those people lost their ass. Their clients lost their asses. Half of them ended up in jail.
I remember going out.
I watched that tore my brother-in-law and sister apart. It tore them apart as that shit hit the fan. And that's kind of the perspective I have. But a lot of these people out there talking shit at this point, they weren't there then. They joined up in 2013. It's been nothing but upside since 2013.
Right. That's kind of my point. Exactly. I mean, I remember going out to a couple of my first clients. This one younger guy, margin to the hilt. I had to go out there and get the money from the guy. Like he was margin big time when I was at Morgan Stanley for like 3 years. I'm like, crazy. It's not good going out there. You know the deal. That's why, going on margin, taking all this risk. People are just taking a ton of risks. They don't really realize it. Right. And I manage money too. So you should definitely have money in the market. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I have money in the market. I have more in the market than I have out of the market because of my age. I'm mid-30s. I still got a long time to go, and I believe in the American economy, but I have a significant portion outside of the market, like very significant portion. So, tis what it is. And actually, I don't even think I have the majority in the market anymore. Since I started doing private placements, dude, I love private placements. Holy shit.
Oh, see, that's where your knowledge is much better on that than mine. I don't know a lot about it. A little bit, but
I love it. It's just so a private placement, dude. You've got an IPO, an initial public offering, like, right? So you have a public offering. All a private placement is, it's a registered investment. It's registered with the FEC or SEC. I'm sorry, FEC, SEC, and then depending, it's registered with FINRA. It's registered if you're taking on qualified money, which a lot of these can. You're registered with ERISA. You have all this oversight. You've got third-party custodians. And some are good, some are not. There's horrible private placements out there for sure. But a registered private placement, it's no different than like if I took my money, if I took $100,000 and I invested into Apple, I have to invest through Wall Street. Air quotes around Wall Street. I have to invest through the stock exchange because that's how Apple has chosen to be traded publicly, right? On a private placement, I can give that same 100,000 to a company. Well, and it's not Apple because Apple's publicly traded, but I can give it to a company that maybe I have as much or more confidence in privately. But because it's private, they get to set their own terms as well. They offer that through a PPM, a private placement memorandum. It's a contract. And they get to say, hey, well, you're giving us your money, so here's our terms. Our terms are, I don't know, 10% fixed plus a profit share, and we'll collateralize you at 100% with our own balance sheet. Show me a single stock that'll collateralize you with their balance sheet. And a lot of people are like, well, dividends. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. What the hell do you think a profit share is? If I'm getting 10% per year, fixed interest, collateralized with a profit share, is that not a, what's the right term here? A pseudo dividend? Like that's all a dividend is. A dividend is a portion of profit share, right?
Sure.
So that's why I've liked private placements because I can take real money invested in a real company, and even a single company, like a single stock, like Nvidia or like Apple or whatever I want to, like, I can invest in a single company, but I can get collateral, I can get fixed rate terms, I can get a profit share, I can get recourse. And not only that, but because of the way it's structured, if it's a Reg A fund, a Reg D, like a 506C, I get first place position. Like, if this company defaults, if they go into receivership, I'm ahead of the bank. If they have debt to a bank, I'm ahead of the bank. I'm number one lien holder. That's freaking cool. But nobody's doing that because Wall Street, and markets and this. So I think at this point on my own personal portfolio, like, I've still got some market stuff, and then I have stuff that I have insurance. I have some cash value life insurance, some annuity in good portion. We've got a few other things as well. But I would bet, like, if you took the money I had that was traditionally invested, it's probably 50-50 between traditional markets and private placements. I really like private placements. They have done me right. So
Got a lot of our money going into our IULs. I got 2 IULs, one an older one at Allianz for like 5 years. And I got 2 on my business partner, and then got a whole life policy, an older one on my mom, which is probably not a good policy, but didn't know a whole lot about whole life 15 years ago when I did it. But it's great to have it for sure. 85 years old, would never get that insurance now, right? So that was a good
15 years ago, dude.
maybe more than that, maybe 20 years ago.
IUL is still the Wild West in a lot of ways, but 15 years ago, that would have been,
well, I did a whole life on her.
Yeah. So IUL existed, but it was the wild West back then. And I mean, rate integrity on those policies, and it's not great. It's not great. As much as agents have bitched and moaned about the regulation that's hit the fan and how it's compressed commissions like AG 49 and Tamar Teffer Deffer updates and all these other things, it's compressed commission, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, you want to earn a living, figure out how to help more people with those solutions. Quit trying to earn a living on 5 clients a year, But it's been better for the policies. You've had fewer policy fees, more policy guarantees, more allocation options that have come out in the last 15 years. So yeah, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't think I would have looked at IUL, to be honest. I probably would have looked at a whole life policy.
Yeah, the fees are, the deal. That's one thing that upsets me too. Like, I manage money too. Make a lot more off managed money than you do selling an annuity or IUL in the long run, right? In the long run, absolutely. Like, that's another big misconception out there.
Crazy. Do you have any clients that, like, you've got 10, 15, 20 years on an IUL versus 10, 15, 20 years on AUM?
Not that I could think of. I'd have to look.
I don't think there's any regulations out there about you making public your own compensation. Like, in fact, that's fiduciary compliance, right? Tell somebody what you're going to make on their shit.
No, I would start doing some more videos on it. I just did a video on it showing the long term with 1% of the wealth report that we run.
Yeah, I saw that with the expense reports.
Yeah.
Isn't that
like, it's awesome? I mean, it's like, as you know, it's even at 1%, it's much, much higher. You're paying in fees a ton more.
There was this very prominent CFP, which everybody is like, oh, CFP is the pinnacle of financial knowledge. No, CFP means you've been trained a little bit on a lot of things. It doesn't make you an expert on anything.
Well, I would say the one thing I've been coming back at some of these CFPs, there's a couple of them out there that join these Primerica calls, absolutely clueless. I mean, I'm not a big fan of education. Some of these people get a CFP license, your designation, and you think you know everything. It's experience. No, like I was mentioning earlier, they haven't sat through the down markets. They've been sitting there in the up markets. They don't really know the ins and outs of IUL, and every video is about IUL's crap. They don't know it. A lot of them even don't know annuities. You still hear a lot of crap about annuities, right? It's all just put the money in the market, let it ride. Average versus actual returns. No one ever talks about that. There's just things out there, downside risks that they really have no clue about and no one ever talks about.
Dude, it's crazy. And I value the CFP designate. I think there's a ton of value there. I think some CFPs put too much stock in its value. They're like, oh, I got my CFP, so I know everything. But it's crazy. I was talking to the CFP the other day and going through some things, and they're like, well, IUL is too expensive. And I was like, well, why? And so he brought up this specific example. I was like, okay, well, he's like, well, in-force illustration. I was like, in-force illustration doesn't show you expenses. It's a freaking illustration. You're here harping on first line illustrations, like before you sell it. Why the hell would an in-force have any more integrity? It doesn't.
Well, one thing that they always ask me for an in-force illustration, I'm like, and I'm showing the actual policy returns, annual reviews, and they're like, it's not an in-force illustration. I'm like, this is 10 times better. What are you talking about? This is exactly what God.
This is exactly what it did, not what the insurance company is allowed to say it might do. That's an in-force illustration is what an insurance company is allowed to say that it might do. But that's exactly what I told him. I was like, well, let's actually, before you cancel that policy, let's get an expense report and break it down. And do you know what this CFP said to me? 22 years as a CFP. He was like, what's an expense report? I was like, bro, you're talking all this shit and you don't know what an expense report is?
Well, the thing that really upsets me, and you said before, angry, these people really don't know. It's just amazing to me. I mean, I would say someone like myself, I've said before in videos, work with me because I've done everything, right? Manage money. You know, I've done annuities for many years. I've done the life insurance, right? Not the expert on whole life probably, but I know enough, right? These people haven't seen, as I mentioned again, they haven't seen the down markets. And I don't understand how hard it is to not realize, you know, how your IUL fees, how do you look at the first year and extrapolate to the whole policy? It doesn't work like that, as you well know. I don't really think it's too hard to understand that if you're a CFP, right? I don't get it.
Dude, I will say this in the social media sphere, and there's a lot of other folks that I think have been a significant part of it, yourself included. I think I've been a big part of it in the few months I've really gotten involved on like TikTok and some of these other places. Most of these people are no longer saying things like cash value life insurance is a scam, IUL is a scam. Most of them, the ones that still are, haven't been involved in the conversation yet. And as soon as there was a gal on the other night, we were on a live. She got on, she's getting real popular on there, like, you know, and she wanted to pull the whole sexist card. You wouldn't be talking to me like this if I had a penis. It's like, yeah, I fucking would. Like, if you had a penis, I'd be saying harder shit. Like, I'm backing off right now because I don't want to be labeled as sexist, but you're a fucking moron and the shit you're saying is wrong. But anyways, I feel like the conversation has been progressing, and most of them, this is actually one of the reasons I like Jonathan. And Jonathan's still doing Jonathan's thing because he'll argue.
I disagree with you there, my friend, but...
Well, hear me out. Jonathan's doing his thing because he's a marketer, but talk to Jonathan either offline or on a live. And here's the thing, 100% of the time, Jonathan, Michael Clark, Love, Andres is his name.
Well, 100% my list as a freaking clown.
100% of the time I get on a live with them. You know what happens? They're like, actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Here's the bone they have to pick, though. And I don't disagree with their bone. And I've told you this. It's that most of cash value life insurance is done wrong. Why? Because although insurance agents pretend like, oh, getting licensed was so hard. No, it fucking wasn't. Are you kidding me? It is not difficult to get an insurance license. I understand some people fail out, but an insurance license is the easiest financial services license to get. Getting a mortgage license is harder. Getting a real estate license, because
that's what I'm saying on education in general. These people, I've seen them do the lives, like that one lady, boss CEO, whatever, the bigger lady, like, come on. Oh, I got my 6 and 63. They all get their 6 and 63. They've had it for 2 weeks and they think like, oh, I manage money. You're only an insurance agent. Like,
but what I'm saying is an insurance license is even easier.
Right.
And the problem is this, the barrier, like I have this perspective because I come from auto repair. Let me tell you about auto repair. Okay. So in auto repair, when I say, oh, I was a mechanic, you probably immediately think of some greasy fucking shithead, blah, blah, blah. Like you don't think of somebody that as an 18-year-old got a $200,000 loan in tools so that he could make a $3,000 a month paycheck because that's what the job required. You probably don't think about the fact that I never took my wife out on a Friday or Saturday night date or the whole first of our marriage. Why? Because that's when Stephen Wade Auto Repair, like the big dealerships and Snap-on and Matco, that's when they put on their trainings, Napa. And so every Friday and Saturday for years on nights, I was there at a 6-hour training, learning on how to do a dynamic compression test on an oscilloscope, right? Nobody thinks about that shit because I'm an auto technician is the same as like that holds the same weight as Uncle Jerry with a 5-gallon bucket full of pawn shop tools. So I understand their frustration, the level, the requirement to get into the industry for you as excellent as you are. Like we helped write some books, for some of these companies on like OBD2 compliance and electrical diagnostics. And I'm grateful for that. I still get paid on it. It's not much. It's like 50 cents a month, but hey, we'll take it. But it's like, hey, that's a whole nother level. However, when you're talking regulatory wise, it's the same level. Nobody said I had to do that. I did that for me. 99% of the industry showed up with a 5-gallon bucket of tools and continues to. And it's the same in insurance. And I have to give that to them. Look at some of these jokers that get on there.
Yeah,
Have
I
you
would
paid
agree. Like,
attention?
yeah, the insurance license and these licenses mean nothing. It's experience in the industry.
Yeah.
Like I said, not a lot of people have sat there when the market's doing really well. And then you had 3 years in a row and I started. Like no one's seen that sitting in the bank in 2008 when you got 20 people coming in complaining about the freaking market every day. Oh, should we sell a lot of it? Like a lot of people haven't seen that, right?
But also like the flip side of that, for every one Charlie video that gets put out, that's fucking excellent. I've been loving what you've been putting out. There's 50 videos that get put out by somebody who just got, you made the point about getting your 6 and 63, that just got their life insurance license, which is even easier. They just got it 2 weeks ago and now they're on TikTok. And because they have nice tits or a pretty face or they're, you know, a human being that people want to pay attention to or whatever, for whatever reason, male, female, she-male, something in between. I don't give a fuck. They could be a croctopus. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Like people are paying attention. They had a life license for 2 months or dude, the one that pisses me off the most. Okay, you played in the NFL for 6 years and you did excellent there. Now you're going to come in and tell people how to manage their money. And the first video you put out is never invest into a Roth IRA. Don't have a savings account. Put all your money in an IUL and it's going to average 14% per year. The reality is that's 90% of the content on our side of the coin. Just like for mechanics, 90% of mechanics have a 5-gallon bucket full of tools. 10% are actually fucking excellent. 10% could engineer a car better than the engineers do, but 90% don't. And that's the same problem. The barrier of entry is far too low, especially considering the amount of or the level of enforceable accountability on top. So to their point on that, I agree. To their point on all IULs are bad, they're freaking morons. And every time
Well, you shouldn't be allowed to do videos and like all this knowledge. If you've never owned it, you've never sold it. Like, and you're saying, you know, it's ridiculous to me. Like you haven't managed money. So you say, put it all in insurance, or you just have, you know, just manage money and you say, don't do insurance. Right. So you haven't, you need someone like myself. I'm not telling myself, but like who's done it all. Right. You can't like do one or the other and say the other strategy is bad. You need it all. I mean, you've seen the BlackRock studies, Ernst & Young, there's tons of them, you know.
Yeah, they're different tools for different jobs. That's the reality, different tools for different jobs. So we talked about what got you into this business and kind of what moved you out of the bank and into the insurance sector. Go back even further. What did you want to be when you grew up? Like, what was the end goal? I remember sitting in my mom's kitchen when I was like 6 years old and I was like, fuck this. I want to be an artist or I want to be a chef. I was watching a lot of Bob Ross at the time, and I think Rachel Ray, specifically like the cooking segment when they do a recipe.
I mean, I wanted to be a professional basketball or baseball player, but obviously that didn't work out. You know, a lot of people think that. So, and then after I sold my lawn maintenance business, wasn't sure what the hell I was going to do, right? So that's kind of when I went into Morgan Stanley and was like 28 or whatever. There for like 3 years and just kind of thought I would get rich there, right? It was sexy, right? So that's kind of how I jumped into that game. And then left in the bank channel, which is a little bit less sexy, but, you know, still pretty good. That's just kind of lucked into it. Just thought it was sexy, applied there, got into it, right? Everyone was trying to, you know, Mark was doing well, as you mentioned. Everyone thinks they're going to be a millionaire overnight there. So I'm like, oh, I got to do this, right? It's kind of how I did it.
What through your whole time there, or now that you're an independent, or as a kid, just your whole life, what was your darkest day?
Darkest day. Good question. I think maybe when my brother passed away. I was 18, he was 17, a car accident, right? Coming home from school that night. I was a freshman at Northern Illinois University, getting a call from my mom coming back, and then just realizing everything that happened, right? And then my parents had to go back to work right away because they didn't have any life insurance, right? And we realized the implications of that at that point. But just everything that was going on at that point. And then later, I realized, wow, the importance of, you know, financial education and life insurance and all this other things, right? That was probably a pretty dark defining moment at that point. for sure.
I don't want to get too personal, but like, how did that change you? Was there a moment where it was like, man, because this happened, I'm going to do XYZ or,
Maybe not at the time, but later on, right? Kind of probably shaped my career. Realized that, found out years later that my parents didn't have any life insurance, right? Like, in our industry, emotional investing, right? That's a great example of that. And then just lack of financial education. I realized later that, all the money I was making with my lawn maintenance business, making a ton of cash for 20 years old, right? Didn't really invest any of that. If I would have put money into a Roth IRA or, a whole life policy back then, be much better off, of course, right? But, you don't know that. So kind of a passion of mine, just educating people these days on the importance of financial education, right? Which is really, there is none in our country, right? By design. So all that
well,
stuff kind of shaped me.
so what was the best day of your whole life? Like professional or other, it could be personal. Like, what was the best day? If there was a single moment, if right now, Charlie, we got off of here, you went to sip your water. I see you drinking out of that bottle, but the cap was still on, but you didn't put it on tight because I had you all interested and you were distracted. So you went to suck on that water and the cap went down your throat, you choked, you died. And, as you're dying, as you're gasping for air and the, light on the other side of the tunnel is zooming in closer and that thought hits your brain, this was the best day of my entire life for any reason. What would that day be? What would that moment be?
It's a tough question. I would say, recently for sure, moving down to Florida. I've been here a year and a half now. Just getting out of not that it was horrible in Chicago. I mean, left for many reasons, but it's kind of stagnant, right? I think everybody looking back should move at least once, right? For sure. And just much better life down here for multiple reasons. So that's, just give me a new outlook on life and a little bit brighter than just kind of being stagnant, right? Sitting in Chicago where it'd be, negative 20 degrees right now. I would say that's a good moment for sure. And a good move. Absolutely for the long run.
What about before that?
For that, let's see. Man, I honestly, I have to think about it for a while.
It's okay. You could think. I mean, there's good moments like that moment when you figure out, no, it's not actually syphilis or whatever the case may be. There's good moments in life. I want to get to know you a little more.
Maybe when I bought my first condo in downtown Chicago in River North, thought it was so cool, right? Being in a great area, big city, going out all the time. That was a good moment, right? That was probably 20 years ago now. So that was a pretty good moment as far as, thought, oh, I was making it now, right? Or getting there, right? So that was a pretty good moment too.
How old were you when you did that?
And not that young, 34 maybe, something like that.
Yeah, but you got a condo and did you live in it or did you rent it out?
No, I lived in it, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Did you invite the ladies over? Like went out to the bar, came back?
Yeah, I was still going out at that point. Probably not a good idea, but yeah, I was going out all the time then. Yeah, absolutely. That's another big money waster looking back too.
Dude, so tell me about that because you're very on this and I admire it. I wish I had the commitment to that. I have the strength to do it. I just don't have the commitment. Like you're a very healthy individual at this point, but you just mentioned like you used to go out all the time, which I'm assuming probably means some drinking and some other things. What made you decide to go from that lifestyle to what you're doing now?
I mean, I've always been super healthy and worked out. I just, kind of like a weekend warrior used to be, right? Going out drinking all the time. I would never come back and just have a drink after work or have a glass of wine or something or beer, but more of a binge drinker on the weekends, right? For sure. So just kind of a few years ago, I mean, it's been a long time now. We really haven't drank that much, hardly ever anymore for quite a while for multiple reasons. Just feel like crap the next day, right? You're getting older, right? Feel horrible for a day or two, right? It's just not worth it. It's everything we've learned about food and alcohol in the last few years, right? All the poison we've been eating and drinking, just getting educated and all that. And just, maybe just growing up a little bit, right? Looking back, all the money that I wasted when I was younger. Like I was mentioning before, did not put into like a whole life policy or Roth IRA or anything. Crazy, right?
What kind of
my lesson?
What kind of partying did you do? How'd you waste your money? Was it like hookers and blow, or you were running a landscaping business? Was it like were you splurging on new lawnmower blades?
Just all going off the bars in Chicago. Alcohol, definitely going everywhere.
Alcohol and
that's pretty much it.
And beef sandwiches, Italian beef. Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably 3 a.m. Yep, eating like crap. Yeah,
dude.
Just a weekend warrior, basically. Or during the week, right? Crazy.
Isn't it crazy how hard you can work all week long to get ahead? And then you get a little too drunk on the weekend and you can do like you can financially undo your whole week worth of like moving forward financially in an hour or two.
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to a few people that I used to hang out with back in the day, like all the money I used to waste. It's like, oh my God, crazy. It's so dumb. But what are you gonna do? Unless you got a time machine for me, can't go back.
What's the dumbest thing you ever spent money on? And you can't say women. You can't say women. It's got to be something else.
I'll say just going back to the drinking, all the money I spent at bars, it's just ridiculous, night after night, $300 here and there, 20 years ago, probably like shit,
That's $1,000 a night now.
600, $700 an hour, right? Crazy. I didn't think anything of it, right? I was making money, didn't care, didn't really know about investing or anything. So that's where gotta get the money in there young, just being stupid when I was younger. That's the one thing. Doesn't matter what I know now or what I'm making. Can't make up for 20 years of compounding, right? Or whatever years, right?
Well, you can. You either compound money or you compound mistakes or you compound like everything compounds.
Sure.
It's just what are you compounding? What was your dumbest moment as you were doing some of the party life? Did you ever have a moment where it was like, God, I'm an idiot? Like, tell me that story.
Sure. Jeez. I don't know if I could think anything specific. There's probably so many back then, being drunken idiot on the weekends, right? So, oh man. Maybe when I was living in the suburbs for a little while, took my buddy driving back from the suburbs, full hammered. He was driving. He hit another car. The car flew up on the side of the road, right? And it was my buddy's fault. And then the car behind us, was saying that it was the other person's fault. Like, okay, whatever. But like, probably could have got killed. Like all the times driving drunk, stupid. Looking back, so dumb. Would never do that. Never done that in many years. But stupid shit like that, right? Like lucky to be alive.
Yeah, man. I've had a few friends killed drunk driving, and a whole bunch more that spent time in jail because of drunk driving. Friggin' stupid.
I remember getting pulled over one time when I was like 25, and the guy let me go. I was really close to home, right? But still, just stupid. Could have been $10,000 DUI, and who knows what happened, right?
Yeah, and ruined your whole life over it.
All the times we did it, driving back and forth from the suburbs of Chicago to downtown, or like, Jesus, crazy. So dumb. So dumb.
So what do you do for fun now besides insurance and finance, and you love what you do and you eat all sorts of really good looking fancy food and you post it on social media, and what do you do for fun now instead of going out to the bars and whatnot?
Been trying to explore everything in Florida, so it's kind of like moving down here is kind of like a vacation for me. There's a lot of stuff to do down here compared to Chicago, in my opinion. Absolutely. Obviously the weather's better, so a lot of stuff to do. People are more active here, right? Just working out, running more down here, just being way more active in general because of the weather, I guess, right? And just tons of activities down here. Just working out a lot, exploring everything in Florida, right? Meeting new people down here. I'll say that's probably my answer right now. Just do it for fun. Just kind of like a mini vacation down here, right? Now, it's still.
What's the coolest thing you've seen? Because a lot of people think of Florida and they think beaches, but like I spent a lot of time in Central Florida, like Lake Wells, Sebring, Okeechobee, and there's some.
I don't know where I'm going down here. I'm in Tampa. Like I've been to St. Pete, Clearwater, a couple other places, but I don't.
You spend a lot of time out on Ybor, you freaking pervert.
Ybor. I've been there a few times. Yeah. I mean, a couple times. I mean, nobody really goes there, right? Everybody's like afraid to go there now, so it's not that bad. But
nah. What's other than the beaches or Disneyland or Miami or like the typical answers? What's the coolest you've been exploring? What's like the coolest spot you've been to that nobody knows about?
I mean, I still have a lot more to explore. Honestly, I've been here a year and a half, and I haven't only done half the things or 80% of the stuff that I probably need to do. Just going on the boat a couple times, pretty cool, right? Just things like that I haven't been done for a long time in Chicago that I used to do. Stuff like that. So nothing real super exciting. Been kayaking and stuff before, but I still got a lot to do down here, right? So,
dude, when I was living there, we did a ton of cool stuff. We went to a bunch of places. We went out to the swamps and the bayou. I used to love running or riding my bike around Lake Wells and then doing like grabbing a little picnic on the dock there on the lake. I love doing that. But the thing that sticks out most in my mind, places I visited when I was there, So this was like '09, right after the crash, right? There's a place outside of Fort Myers called Lehigh Acres. I don't know if you've been down to Lehigh Acres.
I don't even know where Fort Myers is. Obviously, I've heard of it, but I don't know how far it is.
South of you, an hour or two. I don't remember how, like if you go down Tamiami south, like an hour or two is all. It's not too bad, but Lehigh Acres is just inland from that. And Lehigh Acres, it was like, did you ever see the show Weeds?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it though. No.
Okay. Weeds is like set in Southern California and, you know, suburban life, and like every house is another version of the same house, but it's growing so fucking fast. And that's what Lehigh Acres reminded me of, right? Except it was 2009. And there was two things that hit. You had the bust, and then do you remember the Chinese drywall scandal?
Not really, no.
I don't even remember what the problem was, but there was all this drywall. They were building so fast, they started importing sheetrock and drywall from China, and it had huge issues. Like, I don't even remember, like maybe it was asbestos in the drywall or something, to where like you'd build a brand new house, somebody would bite, and they literally had to go tear all the walls and ceilings out and redo it. But Lehigh Acres was this huge community, like thousands of homes in 2009. And we'd go drive out there. You'd pull in through the front gates, like big stone walls around the whole thing, huge, beautiful homes. And like 1 in every 100 had a person in it. Everything else was abandoned, windows broken out. Like these are 1-year-old homes, windows broken out, everything ransacked, copper stripped out of it, just like fucking crazy. That doesn't seem like a vacation, but it was one of the most impactful things to me. I think that was the first time to me that like the recession really hit me, because I was young, I was dumb, and as much as the recession was hitting, it was like, yeah, I can go work 4 or 5 different jobs to earn scratch, but like I didn't have kids, I didn't have a spouse, I didn't even have a girlfriend back then. You know, I was just living life, and it was like, man, you know, it didn't. I was young enough that it didn't hurt me per se. I was old enough to be an adult, but young enough that I just didn't care. Whatever I needed to do to make my living, I do it. And driving through there was like the first time it hit me that was like, holy shit, like this thing is real, you know? Thousands of homes. Like you could drive through there for an hour, street after street, and it's like 1 out of 100 homes has any kind of family in it. Everything else has just been looted, busted out, stripped down. It was like, holy shit. And I've been back in 15 years. But that's probably, I think that like, dude, we've done Orlando, we've done Miami, we've done Jacksonville, a lot of time in Tampa and Clearwater. Spent a lot of time. I lived in Venice and Sarasota for 6 months.
I was in Orlando last week I went to a college football game, which was awesome. Illinois game, bowl game, super cool. Tampa's way better. It's a lot more crowded, it seems like, in Orlando. Maybe a lot of tourists, obviously, right? Especially around the holidays, but just, I don't know, a different vibe here, I think. I think it's better, way better here in Tampa, St. Pete. Yeah.
But I like Tampa.
There's no water in Orlando, right? So,
yeah, I like the Tampa side. So what's your next big vacation down there? Do you have your eye on a certain place you want to go check out?
not really. I got to figure that out. I'm not sure yet. Good question. I don't have an answer.
I'm telling, there is so much beauty, and like it's like serene. It's not big world beauty.
What I'm finding is Florida is
beaches.
freaking huge. So if I drove to see my friend in Boca Raton, it's like 5 hours. My God, it's far. So the driving thing, I'm not a big fan of, because I realize everything's so damn
That's
far.
the Chicago in you, dude. That's because you never lived out west. Out west, a 5-hour drive, like especially early in my career, was like, okay, I've got an appointment. I can make $3,000 if I sell this deal. It's a 5-hour drive. If I wake up early, I can drive, I can close the deal, and then I can drive home, be home for dinner. Then like that's Western life. A 5-hour drive is like, that's St. George, Utah to Salt Lake City, or Las Vegas to LA, or whatever. That's a day trip.
Yeah, I'm used to not driving. I don't really drive that much in Chicago. And then I'm driving I'm driving more down here, but I'm in the city here, so I can really walk everywhere almost. I'm like perfect location. So
Are you like downtown Tampa?
yeah, I'm right by the Riverwalk, if you know what I'm talking about. The
Yep.
Stratz Theater, if you remember that, or that was probably still there. I'm right there. It's like I literally walk for like Old Water Street probably wasn't there when you were there, but that's a new area. It's like 15, 20-minute walk. Hyde Park's like a mile from me.
Or Hyde Park, yeah.
Armature Works is close to me. That's pretty new too. Stuff probably wasn't there when you were here, but I'm on by everything, which is cool. So I walk 80% of the time. But you have to have a car down here, as you know. But
yeah, well, you get anywhere outside of the Northeast and then the Northeast Midwest. Like Chicago's not Northeast, but it's like Northeast Midwest, you know? You get outside of that and you have to have a car. Everything's so spread out. It's crazy.
yeah, absolutely.
But,
Yeah, what else? Hope it wasn't too boring.
no, you're not boring, Charlie. You're not boring at all. I've got a myriad of other questions I could ask you. You want to hang out? You want to talk some more? You want to get rolling? It's up to you.
Yeah, what do you want to ask? I got to do a couple things in a few minutes, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let's say what's your favorite restaurant in walking distance?
That's another thing. I think the food's awesome down here. There's so many good restaurants.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Like my business partner's here right now. So I was going to ask her, like, we get a walk somewhere and get some food. I'm not really sure where to go. Need to go to a different area. I'm sick of walking everywhere around me.
If you were going to die 2 hours from now, and you had a meal in between, what would you want that last meal to be? And you had to walk to it.
Man. Maybe Movaro's. It's an Italian place here. I'm not even a big fan of Italian, but the place is freaking awesome. So when it's super close here and it's very affordable, it's maybe there. There's some good steakhouses down here too, but I can't really walk to them. So I would say there. Or anywhere at Water Street. There's so many good places here, like, which is kind of surprising.
Tacos, Italian.
Yeah, Italian's good. Place on Water Street, they got great burgers, chicken, everything. But it's a mix of stuff. I can eat whatever. Seafood's awesome down here, as you know. So eating more seafood down here for sure. Lately, I've been going there quite a bit. Eating fish a lot. I'm mixing stuff. I wouldn't say even just one thing.
All right, let's roll with that. You're eating fish. Okay, here's the scenario. We get off this podcast. Your partner's there. You're like, hey, I'm going to take you out for a little treat. We're going to go down. We're going to get some seafood. You roll up. You're like, you know what? Tonight, I'm going to have the grouper cheeks. I'm going to have that summer salad with the strawberries in it. And I'm going to have just this whole little thing. And you're just like, oh, God, this is so good, right? So you eat that. And as you're eating, you start choking. You're like, oh, my God, I'm going to die. But your partner's there. She comes and just beats on your sternum. You spit it up. You're alive. You're breathing, right? You're so grateful. You go into the bathroom and some big biker pulls in the bathroom after you. There's only one urinal. He's got a knife, but you're already peeing. But he's nice. He's like, hey, finish up, cowboy. And so you walk out of there safe and sound. Then you and your partner walk out of the restaurant, get one of those freak storms, lightning hits, strikes you in the top of the brain. You're fucking dead. Okay. This all happens 2 hours from now. Knock on wood. I hope it doesn't. But if it did, if this was your last opportunity on the face of this planet to ever give any kind of value to anyone for any reason, what would you want people to know?
Myself or just knowledge in general?
Anything. If this was your last opportunity to share anything that was going to be seen by anyone and it could edify their life in any kind of way, mentally, spiritually, financially, it doesn't matter. What would you want them to know? What would you want your last words to be?
Oh, man, I'm not even sure. I would say, obviously, because the industry we're in, there's zero financial education out there. So they need to start early, right? Don't make the mistake that I did and talk to somebody like me or you that actually knows what the hell they're doing and set up a plan, right? Because as you probably know, 90% of the people out there don't have any plan, no education on anything. It's ridiculous. So that's probably what I would say. And it should make your life a lot easier in the long run, right? A lot less stressful. If you don't got to worry about money or not a lot about money, right? I would say that's probably best advice, especially where the country's going now, right? And 90% of people aren't prepared for retirement or something like that.
You feel like money solves problems? Does money actually buy happiness?
I would say it definitely does. I mean, been broke, had some money, certainly not rich, but better have money, as you know. There's a couple sayings on that. I can't think of anything right now, but
yeah, I'm thinking Wolf of Wall Street. Like I've been a rich man and I've been a poor man.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of. Yeah,
and I choose rich every fucking time. Something like that. I don't know.
It just takes a lot of stress off your plate, right? Especially when you're talking to like people who don't have any money. It's freaking stressful even talking to them, right?
Yeah, dude. I think there's enough things in this life to worry about. If you can take money off the table,
right?
It, number one, erases half of the worries. And now you can focus on the rest. Like, holy shit.
I mean, everything's hard. Every profession's hard. You're going to have struggles, right? But like, yeah, if you can make the money, it's going to eliminate, like you said, half, if not more of those issues, right? for sure.
Yeah.
Not having it's going to bring up so many more issues, right? And stress.
Where can people find you? Where can they get a hold of you? Obviously, if they're in Florida and they want to reach out and chat with you for whatever reason, get you some grouper cheeks, or maybe chat with you about finance or whatever. Maybe chat with you about a career in finance. How would folks get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can get a hold of me on TikTok and, social media at your tax-free guy, right? And then they can also call me directly. My office number in Florida, 813-819-3390, 813-819-3390. They can use that number. Still got my office in Chicago and open an office down here in Tampa. So go back and forth a little bit, right? Mainly in Florida here. So they can reach me there. Website, StewartFinancialSolutions.com. So a few different ways to reach me. Reach out at any point.
Sweet, man. Anything else you want to share with folks before we wrap up?
No, I appreciate your time. First time being on a podcast here. So hope I did okay. I wasn't too boring or.
Oh, dude, Charlie, you did great. Honestly, the people that hate you are going to hate you. The people that love you are going to love you, and fuck everybody else in between. Like, we're just here having a good time cutting it up. So I appreciate you being here, man.